for a podium. Oh, and didn't Kobos just nosedive into that block as Jarvis came back the other way? So Graham Jarvis has put himself right in contention here in the Paris-Bercy Trials Master of 1998. They're really going to have to invite him back next year. He's dropped in total just 25 points. Let's see who can contend with that. Join us again in a few moments. This is the Palais Omnisport Bercy, and it's the old firm in action again. Yep, Steve Colley from the Isle of Man on the 270cc TX Gas. And the 26-year-old, 7th in the World Championship in 1997, takes on his long-standing rival. They've shared the British Championship for the last 5 years. Number 1, Doguie Lampking, the reigning world indoor and outdoor champion on the Italian Beta Techno. He's remained faithful to Techno, of course, throughout, and to the Beta company, rather, throughout his brief and brilliant career, backed by his cousin John, the importer of Beta into England. John, of course, a former world round winner himself on the trials scene. And here we go, Steve Colley getting away racily at the front. Always been a quick performer, Colley. Oh, but having said that, was he a bit too quick? Oh, and he can't believe he's done that. Colley simply tried to be a bit too fast, took off without sufficient preparation and just didn't get enough lift. Bobbed the front wheel into the drum, and he's fived it. So a disastrous start for Steve Colley. Lampkin, of course, can now take his time. When is a race not a race? When the only other competitor has retired. So, Doguie Lampkin, well pleased with himself, off to a good start. And Steve Colley has got to pull himself back from the disappointment of that start. Oh, and look, he throws his head round in absolute disbelief, Colley. So Steve, who's never been worse than second since he debuted here in 1994, now has a task on his hand. Mind you, he's got some pretty brutal scores to beat. He's the 25 of Graham Jarvis is rather balanced by, get this, 47 points lost by David Kobos, 44 points by a disappointing Mark Colomé, and 43 points lost by Bruno Camozzi. No one has yet cleaned this section that we're in. David Kobos managed to escape with a 1 and then 5'd everything else. So Steve Colley could prove something here with those enormously long legs. Let's see how he manages to deal with zone 1. Whoa, goes the French crowd. The ever-popular Maxman looking good. Oh, just when I said that, he buries his front wheel. But of course, these guys always manage to find a reverse gear where there isn't one. Bunny hops his way backwards. Stops, takes a great soulful deep breath, and then gets the weight back. Oh, and beautifully motors over it like a main road. So Steve Colley on the top, and drops down very tidily. Nothing spectacular or outrageous this time for the Maxman. Those Michelin's absolutely glued to the edge of the wood there. Now it's a quick flick round up to his left, up on the balls of his feet. And Colley's recovering here in the best way possible. Doguie Lampking keeping a very deeply suspicious eye on him from down below there. And he's taking plenty of time to line himself up now. We're not getting any fireworks here from Steve Colley. I'm holding my breath here because he'd sunk that front wheel so low onto the front fender. I wonder if he was going to get it back. And the crowd getting behind him. Oh, what? What sort of position do you call that, Colley Wobbles? Oh, yes! And a great display. The first clean of the night. Steve Colley, the first clean of the night out of the scorper section. Absolutely brilliant. I just didn't think he was going to get away with this one. I didn't even think really what he was trying to do, but that was a great performance by Steve Colley, taking it very, very, very carefully to recover from that disaster on the speed test. That was a wonderful, the art of suspension there before dropping himself down and just ripping the 270 gas out. Oh, but now, almost straight away, this is so typical of Steve and his frustrating and annoying and incomprehensible best and worst. You see the best of him one moment and the worst of him the next, look. OK, I've taken my time and got myself through that. I'll just go at it like a bull at a china shop and bail off this time. Completely loses his balance and the full 5. So, well, Steve Colley now. Still in contention because the scores of Komotsi, Colomé and Kobos were so bad. See how he gets on with the mushrooms. Of course, he could always make up ground on Doguie Lampking when they meet again in the Vitesse, but he doesn't want to lose too much until then. Oh, what's he got in? That's a horrible position to be in. Oh! He's got to get that front wheel up. I think he's got it high enough now. It's a long dab. Still only 21 points down from the boy from Onken. He crashed during our NEC indoor demos at the motorcycle show in November and got himself into hospital. Oh, dear me, and he's trying to do it again. Oh, Steve. He knows he's against the clock. If the bike's in one piece, he wants to get back on it. Oh, and he just never made it there. The bash plate just sat him right there and then cast him back. That was a long drop, wasn't it? At least he tried to do it in 2, didn't he? Break the fall. An undignified exit from the mushrooms, the full 5 for Steve Colley. And yet he's still in there in contention. He's still in there for a podium placing. It's whether or not he can grab second place from the on-form Graham Jarvis. His minder rescues the bike. And it's the Orangina waterfall that Colley did so very well on. Of course, he cleaned the mushrooms on the first lap and dropped just 1 point on the waterfall, so he's still got plenty to go for. So we waited beneath these beautiful lights for Steve Colley. Of course, he's got 5 minutes grace to actually repair the damage to the gas before he reappears to do the Orangina fall. As long as that bike can be repaired within 5 minutes after his CAS, then Colley can come back and show us what he's worth across the waterfall. So the crowd waits in a state of hushed anticipation, really, because Colley is so very popular here, always on the podium, since he appeared here first in 1994. So they want to see him A, all right, B, his bike all right, and C, him back in action. Colley lost him a couple of weeks, of course, after that hospital treatment in November. He was a couple of weeks off the bike. But he's come back in fine style with his victories in Turin and Toulouse this winter. But that must have knocked his stuffing out of him a bit, as well as his bike. OK. Bit of encouragement from a bit of invigorating soprano singing across the old mic, the old sound system at Paris-Bercy. Zone 5, La Source. Steve also knows that he doesn't want to lose any marks on time. Now, Jarvis, of course, was inspirational over here. He cleaned it, the only clean we've had. Komotsi lost 5 marks, Colomé lost 1, Kobos crashed off for 5. Jarvis cleaned it. Whoa, 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 whoa. Come on, Steve. Look at that. 4 fingers on both clutch and front brake. You've got to have all the power you can get to take off, but you've got to restrain that power until the very moment that you fire it across there. The rear Michelin, of course, even when they're soaked in Orangina, these tyres work to a remarkably sticky degree. Actually, they're probably even stickier when they've got the Orangina on them, even if it is ICI effluent. Oh, up he goes. Beautiful so far. I think I'll just keep my mouth shut at the moment. Here's Colley, slightly at an angle. I don't know whether it's an angle he particularly wants to be at. Just sorting out, adjusting himself. And this is the point at which David Cobos went for a massive Burton. 27 points down so far. Oh, Colley drops a leg for safety. Oh, no! Oh, Steve, and just when we thought you'd really got it sorted. And a disconsolate wave to the crowd who give him a lot of sympathy there. OK, rejoin us in a few moments, see if Steve Colley can recover from that one.
As you unwrap your
World Indoor Trials and Outdoor Trials champion Doguie Lampking celebrates his imminent 22nd birthday with victory here in Bercy. His birth date, the 23rd of March, so next Monday, he turns 22. Isn't it remarkable? He was only born in 1976. Doguie Lampking. He only lost 3 points, of course, on the first lap, so he's... It already looks as if Graham Jarvis is assured of second place in this contest, and Steve Colley a podium place in third position. And unless disaster really strikes, I'm talking as if Doguie Lampkin's already won it. I beg your pardon. Here's Doguie Lampking. He's got to get through these zones, and he's got to lose fewer than 25 points if he's going to defeat Graham Jarvis. But if Doguie rides anything like he has been doing, then that should be a distinct possibility, which would give us the amazing sight of a British 1-2-3. We've had British 1-2s here at the Bercy Trial Master before, but wouldn't it be just great to have a clean sweep? Obviously, Martin Lampking not relaxing any. Mark Colley's been third for the last 2 years here. So he's the man who's prevented us having those any clean sweeps on the podium. Mind you, this is the first time I think we've had 3 British riders here. Oh, I beg his pardon. Graham Jarvis was here. Oh, James Jarvis, I was going to say, was here in 1997. And a disbelieving Lampkin duo mess up on zone 1. So there you are, just to prove that nothing can be taken for granted in this sport, as in any sport. Oh. And just like that, as simple as that, losing his balance to the right. And he can't even fail spectacularly, Doguie Lampkin. He just falls neatly off with his feet still on the pegs. Well, he'll be knocked with that, zone 2. Now, these have been pretty evil going backwards, have they not? So far, we've had Mark Colley, the only man who's escaped without dropping a full Monty 5. He lost 3 points in this section. Steve Colley is the only man to have cleaned section 1 in the final. So far, as I say, Mark Colley's effort with 3 points dropped is the best one. And already, Doguie Lampkin's shedding points here. Now, we've got the ramp up, but it hasn't been getting up there that's been the problem. It's been getting down. Look at that tiny little hydraulic disc brake on the front. Oh, hydraulic clutches as well. Everything, they're really high-tech, these bikes these days. Electronic ignition, water-cooled 2-stroke engines with fearful power, absolutely instant power. Oh, and there's Lampkin off it, yes! And like I say, where everybody else gives us huge spills, Doguie Lampkin just sort of sidles himself into oblivion. Looks briefly across at his dad, hopes that his dad won't tell him off. Look at that. You thought he was going to rescue it because he made no real panic move, did he? And then just very slowly. Oh, and I don't think I'll repeat what he seemed to say at his dad just then. Right. So now we go on to zone 3. Now, who's the only man to have cleaned this? You're right. Graham Jarvis is the only man to have cleaned this one. Kamotzi only lost 1 point, but Colley, Colomay and Kobos all 5'd it. Now, can the boy who first mounted a bike when he was 2 years old, just going to show, never too late to start, can he make it across the mushrooms? He needs to turn it round a bit now, of course, because Jarvis only lost 25 points. That is it. Big effort, says Martin, and he gets it. Believe it or not, Lampkin Senior does claim that Lampkin Junior can ignore him if he chooses to, but generally speaking, if you hear a directive issued, then Doguie seems to carry it out to the millimetre. Or I beg your pardon, to the inch. The good old-fashioned English Yorkshire folk, and there we are. Doguie Lampkin matches Graham Jarvis as clean. Anything you can do, I can do, if not better, then just as well. So Doguie Lampkin recovering his composure. Not that he ever really seems to lose it, but there we are, Lampkin. Terrific performance, weight right over the front as he comes off. Clears zone 3. Now then, zone 4. This one was amazingly cleaned by Graham Jarvis. 5 by Colley, Kamotzi and Kobos. Only 1 point lost by Mark Colomay. But now, with only 13 points down, Lampkin really beginning to look like he's going to accomplish his second successive victory here in Paris-Bercy, the Palais Omnisport, the one that they all love to win. Doguie Lampkin looking good. Diego Bosses of Italy on an Aprilia won here in 1990 and repeated it on a Fantic in 1991. The great, inestimable Jordi Taras won here on a Beta in 1992 and then on a Gas in 1993. Colomay and his Beta won in 1994, Taras and his Gas in 95. Then the Brits took over. 1996, the 17th of February, Steve Colley. 15th of March, 1997, Doguie Lampkin. Here we are, March 1998, and it's Doguie Lampkin who looks the likely winner at the moment. Just drops a precautionary foot there so that he didn't topple off. Doesn't make any mistakes coming out. Glances up at the scoreboard and knows that he's looking like, I think, probably the winner, because he's just got to go on another race with Steve Colley. This is when he put a very wise foot down so that nothing too untoward would happen, and then motored out. I must ask him what that stuff tastes like when I see him again. That's Doguie Lampkin then. And I think he's pretty much got the Paris-Bercy Trial Master of 1998 wrapped up with that scintillating last couple of sections, just 1 point down in 2 sections. So Steve Colley on the left, back to zone 1 for the double speed wrap-up. And I do believe that even if Colley wins this one, it's not going to be good enough to turn around the gap on Graham Jarvis. And I think even if Doguie Lampkin gets defeated, it's still not enough to overturn his victory margin. But let's see if we can get a good race from the boys this time, because they're... Oh, Doguie! Oh, dear me. And I did get the feeling that was a sort of slightly couldn't care less bit. Oh, and a nice little double. A bit of... He likes his motocross and his supercross, Steve Colley, and it looks like he's practising for the changeover when it comes. So now he's got the stage to himself, the man they all love here in Paris-Bercy. What does it matter if he's only third? He's on the podium, so they'll be able to give him a cheer anyway. Doguie Lampkin has rejoined just to give him a bit of opposition. Because this is, after all, meant to be a race, even though it's probably the harshest race course I've ever seen. Typical bit of French litter in the corners there. And at the moment, Colley doing his doubles, as if he's just given us a little sort of precursor of what's to come November, of course, when the Supercross guys will be back. And Doguie, for a moment there, trying to get back on terms, but I think that it's Steve Colley. There you are, folks. That's what I'm really capable of. And that, with 2 points lost on time, gives him a total of 32. Doguie Lampking, a total with no points lost on time. The only man who didn't lose anything on time, despite that rather drastic 5. Jarvis lost 2 on time. Colley lost 2 on time. Komotsi 5, Colomé 5, Kobos 4. But Steve Colley loses nothing on this race. He ends up with a total of 32, which puts him a very clear third. And it's a British whitewash. What more can I say? Isn't that great news? The Brits have gone 1, 2, 3 here in France. And a celebratory wheelie from the man who's never been on the podium since 1994. Did I say never been on the podium or off it? Never been off it. Steve Colley in 3rd place. Look at those 3 Union Jacks. That's pretty good, isn't it? Let's hear it for the trials, boys. Doug Lampkin wins with 19 points lost. Graham Jarvis 2nd with 25. Steve Colley 3rd. And the other guys, nowhere. Mr. Komotsi, Mr. Colomé, Mr. Kobos. And the great thing is 2 of them are Spanish, which bodes really well for 1998 when these 3 guys... He launches his defence of the World Outdoor Trials Championship. Steve Colley and Graham Jarvis launch their attack on him. And they'll all be out to defeat the Spanish Armada. In the centre, Doguie Lampkin, now twice winner of the Trial Master here at Bercy. On the left, former winner Steve Colley. On the right, dare I say, future winner Graham Jarvis. They'd better keep inviting him back because he's here to stay. He may have been 2nd last in 1997, but he'll certainly be going ever so much better by the time we see him again back here next year. We hope you've enjoyed this visit to the Palais Omnisport in Bercy. This man, Mark Colomé, of course, he'll be back all guns firing in the Outdoor World Championships in a few weeks' time. And we look forward to seeing what he can come up with. He's certainly on a tremendous bike. Oh! And that's a very fed-up performance there from number 6, Bruno Komotsi. And here, an equally disenchanted 18-year-old David Kobos. And we certainly had some fairly drastic offs here, not only amongst the Continentals, of course, but Steve Colley in particular had a pretty drastic drop-off or 2 as well. So, Paris-Bercy, the Trial Master here in Paris-Bercy. It kicked off in January 1990 with Italian Diego Bossis winning. It was Italy who won again in 1991. Jordi Taras of Spain winning in 92 and 93. Mark Colomé of Spain in 94. Taras again in 95, since when the Brits have dominated. So if you're looking for a sport that we're doing well at, well, despite this particular mishap, Graham Jarvis finished 2nd. A very, very fine 2nd for the quiet man from Canterbury in Kent, now resident in Yorkshire and actually beginning to sup a bit of beer, which is probably why he's getting better. Doguie Lampkin wins it for the 2nd year in a row, and that sets him up well for the defence of his World Outdoor crown in 1998. You'll see all the best motorcycle sporting action on Eurosport, including World Superbikes, the first round from Phillip Island this weekend. Please join me, Jack Burnicle, for that, and thanks very much for your company tonight.